Okay, let's start so we can finish. It's getting a little late. So we talked about sort of getting started with the course. We saw a bunch of test-driven development. Now I want to talk about some of the work that you'll be doing in Project 1 and then the Koans. So Project 1 is the first part of an airline application that you'll be building. It's due in the 22nd, which is 2 weeks. Is that right? Is that a Wednesday? Yeah, 2 weeks. Yep. Oh yeah, all of the projects are due right before class because I want you to come to class, right? And that's the motivation there. Right? So it's like, okay, yeah, you haven't got it done. It's like, well, it's going to be late anyway. Go to class. You'll probably figure things out that'll help you finish it off, and then turn it in afterwards. So in this first project, it's pretty straightforward. You are creating the fundamental airline and flight classes that you'll work with for the rest of the course. All your other projects will work with these classes. You'll be augmenting the overall application as we go. And the whole idea here is that this is really a getting started project. It's all about working with Java and Maven and IntelliJ and all stuff for the first time. So there's not a lot of functionality here. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of maybe head scratching things of like, wait, this is like too simple. Yes, it's too simple. It's okay. Don't worry. It'll get harder. But enjoy it now while it lasts. So there are two classes in my package, in the EDU PDX CS410J package, that are abstract, called Abstract Airline and Abstract Flight. And I want you to subclass each of these two classes and provide all of the implementation that's not provided by the Abstract Superclass. And I want you to do that in your package, which is EDU PDX CS410J, wherever your login is. And that's Airline and Flight. An airline has a name, and it consists of multiple flights. And each flight departs from a source airport and leaves at a given departure time and arrives at a destination airport at a given arrival time. For this first assignment, everything is a string. So yes, even though a lot of you probably know that dates and times can be represented with other objects, the only requirement for this course is to use a string. If you want to use dates now, great, that's fine. You'll get a little bit of a head start on a later project, but you don't have to. Each flight also has an identifying number. There is a class called Project 1, which contains a main method, which is the command line interface to your airline application. And all it does is it creates a flight object, adds it to an airline object, and if the dash print option is specified, prints it out by using its toString method. Note that it doesn't save any information, right? Your project starts, it runs, it does a little bit of stuff in memory, and then it exits. Next time, we'll start writing to a file. But for this assignment, what it does is dead simple. So here's the command line interface for your Project 1 class. Each project, and this is consistent for all of the command line applications, it has some options that are optional, and then it has some arguments that are required. The required arguments are, in this order, the name of the airline, the flight number, that's an integer, the source airport, the destination airport, the depart time, which is 24-hour time, and we'll see an example of it here shortly, the destination airport, and the arrival time. There are two options to this program. One is dash print, which will print a description of the newly added flight. If dash print isn't specified, actually there is no output from your program. The only way that you get output is by saying dash print. There's also a dash readme option, which will print a readme for the project and then exit the program. We'll talk more about the readme next week. There you can read about it in the documentation handout, which is linked to in as part of next week's class, but you've already seen plenty for tonight. We'll talk about that next week. Your date and time are two command line arguments. The first one is the date, and it's month, day, year, followed by hours and minutes, again in 24-hour time. If something like your airline consists of multiple words, then you should put them in double quotes on the command line. So, CS410J Air Express. However, dates and times, they are each their own command line argument, and so they do not have double quotes around them. And note that the following times, like 3/15, 2017, I didn't update this one, and also March 2nd, are also valid dates and times. So it doesn't have to be 2 digits. It only has to be 2 digits if it is 10 or greater, etc., etc. Oh, there's also, sorry, this assignment is worth 6 points out of your final grade. One of those points is something called a plan of attack at POA. We'll talk about that next week also. You can read ahead if you want. Lots of footnotes here. Oh, don't worry about validating times don't worry about validating the semantics of the time. Just do the syntax. So just look for the right number of digits followed by slash, followed by digits, etc., etc. Later assignments, you'll validate whether or not the date is reasonable. Right? You can't have a flight that arrives before it departs and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, what?
Or last year.
Or last year, right? Yes. No Bermuda Triangle flights or whatever. Right? Yeah. It's beyond the scope of this assignment. That's an edge case. Et cetera, et cetera. Yep, all sorts of good details here. Okay. Again, graceful error handling. Excuse me. For instance, if something is missing from your command line, or you have extra command line arguments, or if the format of the date or time is incorrect, flight numbers non-numeric, all that good stuff. Oh yeah, and all airport codes must contain 3 letters. I'll give you a heads up. This assignment is primarily about data validation. There's not a lot of functionality. As a matter of fact, the functionality is all there in the command line parsing, so that's really what you're going to be testing. Or rather, that's what I'm going to be testing, what you need to make sure passes. So let's see here. And when it comes to submitting the program, please submit everything, the code that you build, test, and execute. We'll be talking more about how to submit next time, but there is a handout that you can read, too. Oh, interesting. Okay, right. I should probably take all this out. It's not relevant anymore. Here's how you get started with this project. Actually, do I even say so? No. Okay. So it used to be you had to run this big old ugly command yourself, but instead now you can just do the following. There in your repository that you created from the Getting Started one, there is a. Sorry, let me move this up so you can see it a little bit better. Actually, I'll just do it over here. That was on the PSU machine. I don't need that anymore. I'll do it over here. I will say create project1.sh, and I give it my ID. And just like I created the project 0, this will now create a new. I'm saying it created an airline class here, and actually if I go to my airline project, and now if I go back to my IntelliJ and look at my project, and if I sync where we are, it now has an airline. Oh, I probably need to enable auto import of changes to Palm XML. Now it says, oh look, you have a new airline project here, and it contains some code. There's a flight that extends abstract flight. There's the beginning of a project 1, also something called airline XML helper, which will come in handy in project 4. So, you have your new Maven project in airline, and after you chmod your Maven wrapper script, you can then run it. And so you can say, might as well clean, verify. So what this does is this will build your Maven project from scratch. It'll blow away any code that was already there. It will then compile your code, run your unit tests, build your jar file, run some integration tests. We'll talk more about that next week. And everything's happy. So this is good. I'm going to go ahead and commit this then. I need to, well, maybe I'll do that from the, no, here's what I'll do. What is this? Is that it? Nope. I want one of these that lets me Damn it, where is it? That lets me view by. Nope. I thought there was a way that let me view by directory. Meh. So what I need to do is I need to add the new files. Maybe I'll just do that from the command line. So git status, git add pom.xml and airline, git status. Those are all my files. So I'll say add airline files for project 1. And so this is a project in which you can in which you can implement your project 1. It comes with unit tests. I highly encourage you to do this test-driven development, or implement this using test-driven development. As a matter of fact, I guess I don't call it out in the assignment, but it will be there as part of. Oh, interesting. I should probably call it out here. I'll talk more about it next week, but I want to give you a heads up about testing because some of you might want to start your project now. There's 2 experiments that I'm running this term. The first one is with the pair programming and the mob programming. Another one is about enforcing that you develop unit tests. So for years I've said, hey, you should write unit tests. It's a really great thing. I have some students say, wow, I wrote unit tests and it changed the way I programmed. It was really great. And I've got other people saying, yeah, I'm not going to write unit tests unless I have to. Well, you have to now. And so what I'm fair enough. And so then when I grade your program, I will run it through a bunch of test cases to make sure that it behaves as expected. But I'm also going to run your unit tests, and I'm going to run your unit tests with a tool that measures code coverage, meaning that it runs your tests and keeps track of which lines of code were exercised by your tests. And I've got some threshold. I think is it 80% or something like that? What? 60%. 60? Is that what I said? Okay, great. Seems pretty low, right? Got a low bar. 60% of your code needs a unit test. Yeah, we'll see. If it doesn't, if you don't have more than 60% or more of your code covered by your unit tests, you'll lose a little bit of credit. And the way you can do that, well, you can test that is by saying -p greater verify, I think. And now I think when it runs it, running your test suite? It is. The one that comes out of the box, right? Yeah. So when you create it, yeah. And so right, yeah. But out of the box, I only have 25% of the instructions that are covered, but the expected minimum is 60, or 60%. So you got some work cut out for you. I don't know. So we're gonna give this a try. And actually, I really appreciate your feedback in terms of like what this means for the way you code. Both, it might be like, oh wow, okay, you're forcing me to write unit tests, I'm doing it, or it's like, yeah, you know what, I wrote all my code, they did all my unit tests at the end, or it's like 60%. There's no way I can get 60%. I don't know. So, welcome to being experimented on. You're all guinea pigs.
What was the p-reader verify?
Yeah. So, -capital P, which means run it as a profile, which adds some extra configuration to it, named greater. Yep. And I think I'll mention this again next week, because someone saw the document. Is it on the submit document that has the 60%? Where does it say that?
It's on the testing. Yeah.
Oh, there's an actual handout that I wrote? Yeah. I've forgotten everything I've done in the last 2 weeks, apparently. It was the holidays, There was a lot of drinking. Okay. Okay, so right, so that's how you can get started. Use the I should just tell all this out. Use the create project 1 script, and then you can run things like Maven verify. Next week we'll take a look at Maven site and what that does. That's kind of neat. But now you can run the command line with the jar file. And then this prints, this is the main, and just like we saw with student, if we go to, sync all that, if we go to project 1, main, it prints missing command line arguments. So that's a project to get you started. You can follow what I was doing with test-driven development. Again, this is the main thrust of this project will be validating things in the command line. Okay. Any questions on project 1? It's due in 2 weeks. We'll cover more about submitting and documenting in the POA next week, but yeah.
Do you have any extensions or tools for idea that should be in the coverage?
Yeah. Yes. Let's see here. Student tests. I think. Yeah, if you so you can just run with code coverage.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do. It's now. See, I don't usually use this. Well, but look, here it is. 3% of classes, 70% of lines, covered in all test scope. So this will, actually, this is great for the IDE. But what you'll get graded on is the. Oh, actually, I don't think I have a grader. Do I? I don't know what happens if I run pgrader here. Oh, no, there it is. And so it says, oh, I have, okay, so this one, there was a rule, I have one class which didn't have any code executed. I wonder which one that is. Well, we can figure that out later, maybe. Actually, what is it? Class C log for details.
Was that before you tests?
Yep.
Okay.
And that was for the student class. It's probably because, oh yeah, look, duplicate class exception doesn't get called anymore because I don't need it. Oh look, I found some dead code. Yay! Okay, so actually that's a good thing, right? Because I don't think we, right? Yeah, it even tells me it's never used. So let's safely delete. Delete with safety. Nice. And now I'll run my code coverage again. Actually, I'll do clean. So anyway, this is something I'm starting this term. I'm really curious to see what its effects are. Nice. Okay, all code coverage checks have been met. So yay. So another nice. This is what test-driven development encourages you to do. Remember, just write code for stuff that you have a test for. And so this is a way of sort of encouraging you to make sure that your code is tested. And remember, you test your code so that it works, and if it works, you get a good grade. Right? Yeah, it's just that easy. Okay. Right. Actually, let me quick check that in. Get rid of unused class. So that is project 1. Any other questions? Yeah, no, keep asking them.
So I'm curious, you said you also work during the day. Do you find that you actually use TDD, or is it more like you want to but can't always?
I don't always use TDD, but when I do, yeah, I mean, it's...
Like when you're working with stuff that's
yeah.
already built up. It's more first, right?
It can be even more important to write tests first with a code base that you're not familiar with. Right, because that helps you explore what's supposed to happen, especially when and so then there's this whole craft of working with like old legacy code, and like one of the first things that you do when it's not tested or when like its tests don't cover enough is that you write tests again to sort of give you your bearings in terms of what is this code supposed to be doing, and like, oh, if I send it this input, what does it really do? And so yes, I mean I try as often as possible to sort of start out with the end in mind and say, well, I want it to do this. Okay, I have this input, I have that output. Great, what do we need to do along the way to make all of that happen? Yep. Awesome. Cool. Okay. The project 1 is due in 2 weeks. there's another project that we're going to kick off this week, but it's not due for a while, and that's the Java Koans. That's not due until February 12th, right before Valentine's Day. So there's a lot to the Java programming language. There's a lot to the Java APIs. There's all sorts of great stuff out there. And yeah, you can learn about it by reading a book, or by reading the API documentation. But there's nothing like experiencing it and actually writing code in it. And you can do that by working on your projects. You'll see a lot of the API, but there are a lot of subtleties, and there are a lot of sort of specific things that you might just sort of come across on your own. It would be good just to be taught those specific things. And that's what the Koans project is supposed to be. So a koan is a teaching question in Buddhist discourse. The whole idea is that it's sort of it's like you're dealing with Yoda, right? He's asking you all these questions that are meant to make you think and stuff, and then he hits you over your head with your head with his cane. That doesn't happen with the Java koans, luckily. But so what I did is I took these koans that were developed by this guy Matty, who that are basically like these small little snippets of code that you sort of are meant to study and then answer a question about. It looks a lot like a unit tests, actually, where it's like, okay, hey, you've done, you've called this API, or you have this little bit of code here. What should it do, or what should this value be? The idea here is that this series of koans will get you experience with the Java programming language, with some of the intricacies of certain places that are complex or difficult, and just give you a better idea of how to work with the language. Sorry, I need to take all this stuff out. You don't need to use the archetype anymore. Instead, you create this thing by saying create koans. Yeah, create koans, and then you generate it here. Nice. Oops. What is this? This I don't need. Okay, now I've got some koans. Now, they work a little bit differently. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add them real quick. Git add pom and koans. Git status. There's a whole lot of them. Yep. Add koans. Here, you run a Java program by saying exec Java, maven exec Java. Actually, there's a script, isn't there? Yep. A script that you need to make executable. Good. And this sort of runs the koans. The whole idea is that there are all these little classes that you need to make pass. And it gives you like this little message saying, hey, there's this file about koans.java, and that there's look for a method that starts with @koan, and it'll teach you your first lesson. So then you can go to IntelliJ, and then you can open up the about koans right there. Oops, I'm going to refresh version control so everything is green instead of red. And it says, okay, currently it tells you what's failing. Ponder what's wrong in the about koans class find about koans file method. Find about koans file, it's saying fail. Okay, delete this line to advance. Fair enough. Go back, IntelliJ will automatically save the change. The thing will reload it and like, haha, progress. I have 1 out of 271 of these things down. Okay, this is good. Definition of a koan completion. Okay, so let's see here. It fails if it's not complete. How do we make this koan pass? Set it to true. Okay, good. Okay, go back here. Reloads. 2 out of 271. Excellent. Okay, now it's like ponder what's going wrong in the about assertions class's assert boolean true. Okay, and line 13 may offer a clue as to how it may progress. Now make haste. So, about assertions. About assertions. Okay. So there are two possibilities, true or false. What would it be here? True. Three. Good. Got that one right. Okay. So let's do a couple of them here. Okay. So these ones are sort of showing you about the format of the Koans. So assert false is going to be false. Assert null. Null. That's a null value. Let's make sure I got those right. Now it's saying assert null object reference method. Okay. So the whole idea is that you take these two little underbars, you take these underbars here, and that you replace them with some value that will make things pass. So assert null some object is null. Okay, what do we got to do to make this one pass? Let's put in some non-null value, like, I don't know, empty string. Cool. Equals using expression. Okay, here we go, sorry. Hello world equals hello world. Jeez. Yeah. Did I get that right? Yep. This first one is just, just here again, it's showing you what to do. So all of this stuff. It gets a little bit more interesting in a moment. I'll just 2 plus 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 minus 8 is minus 5, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay. There's also a variation that has strings in the assert equals. I'll give you a little bit of information that it prints out here. It says, the answer should be 42. It is 42. So anyway, as you go through these, it shows you things about like the difference between equals and same. So both of these are equal, but which one refers to the original in this one? Yeah, same does, yeah. So you see what we're getting at here. These are not the same, so we want different. And the intent here is that you do a couple of these every day. And that this will, over time, this is why it's due in like 4 weeks or something, that you'll understand more about the language. 'Cause these ones are easy, right? It's probably, oh yeah, right, you know all of this stuff. But it'll talk more about, we can just go look at some of these, but what's in there. Learn about casting or exceptions, how inheritance works. Various things about strings, variable argument arrays. I can't give you an assignment that would have you do all of this stuff, but I can give you these Koans, which lets you examine all these different pieces, parts of the Java language. So let's see here. Now, is everybody happy? On to yes, about equality, something else. So I'll just quick commit these. Oops. Start a couple of Koans. So I encourage you. So this is again due February 12th, which is like a month, 5 weeks even maybe, a long time. But there are a lot of them, right? 271, and they get harder over time, and some things will be tricky. Feel free to reach out and ask questions. This is a learning thing. This is like, hey, I saw this Koan, and okay, I was able to get it to work, but I don't understand why. And that's fine, because that's what these are meant to be for, to help you, understand, get a deeper understanding of the Java language and some of the APIs. That's how you submit it. We'll talk more about submitting next week. And especially on these, please make sure they run on the CS Department's machines. In the past, some people with some localized operating systems and stuff the cones behave a little differently. So make sure that everything runs on the PSU machines before submitting. Yes, question.
Are the updated commands for getting project one and cones posted anywhere? You were saying is that architecture?
Oh yeah, sorry. Are they posted anywhere? No, you just have to go look in the. They're in the Getting Started repository.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just create project one and create cones. Sorry, I'll let me make a note someplace. Send me an email or create a GitHub issue for me or something to modify that in the assignment. Sorry. Okay. So that's the cones, and that is project one. Let's do 15 more minutes. Oh, sorry, that questioner is, oh my God, I'm so tired. Okay. Let's do 15 more minutes of TDD, and then we'll call it a night. Oh, sorry, question?
So for the code, you don't have to run the Maven route to verify either, right?
Correct. There is a Maven project there, but verify everything, right? And code coverage also doesn't apply to the codes. Yep, it's not a project. It's not the same thing as the airline project. Okay. So we'll close, actually, a lot of these. We'll just close all to the right, and then we'll close this one. Okay, where did we leave off? We left off, we did this big refactoring to do the hash set. Oh yeah, there was one more. I was wondering, do we need to test when a student takes 0 classes? Actually, what even should happen if a student takes 0 classes?
In some sense, the word they're not a student.
I don't know, what do you think?
He's on a break.
Yeah, it's valid.
It's valid? Okay. When a student takes 0 classes, no classes are listed. So 0 classes contains and is taking 0 classes, period. Run it. Okay, because it said 0 classes with that. So now let's go back to our long-suffering toString method, figure this out. Ugh. I'm getting less and less happy with this code, right? Because what do we got to do? We got to say, instead of this, we got to say if num classes equals 0, then period. Oops. Then period, otherwise, colon. Well, that's really hard to read. Let's see if it's right. Okay, that's right. So I want to refactor this. This is getting ugly. Yeah?
Make a dictionary that associates. It's just complicated a lot. You can do a switch statement with this, where
Yeah.
you
No.
string them. Oh,
Yeah. What do we do?
I know it's not functional-ish, but you can start off with the has a GPA of blah and is taking, and then after that you have a switch statement with the number of classes,
Oh.
and case 1, case 0, default.
Yeah, I do this every time I teach, and I usually get to this point where it's like, oh my God, this code is so ugly, and I start going down that route, and it always takes us past 9 o'clock. So I don't know.
Does Java support formatting strings?
It does. It does. Yeah. We could format. But then I mean, the thing about right. We could try the. Okay. Sorry. Let's get this. Let's commit this because we might make it ugly. So oops. What did I change there? I'm sorry. I don't want all this stuff that it's showing. What is this saying? How did I group by? Oh, directory. Oh no, wait. This is what I want. Show ignored files. Show. Somehow this thing keeps popping up. I don't like it. Oh, I see. That's. How do I close this? Show toolbar. I want that. View mode. Huh. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, so let's see here. Oops. Handle 0 classes in a very ugly way.
Honestly, with 1, 0 default, yes, it's ugly, but it works. Any more abstraction to make it look more pretty
Okay,
is just going to be more complicated.
well, let's give it a try. Yeah, it's a nice thing, Well, let's call it string here, and then no. Oh, yeah, well, you know what? Wait a second. Replace. Oh, look at. Oh, and this even has a replace plus with string.format. Let's just see what it looks like. Hack. It's really long. Yeah, boy, that doesn't do it for me. I think it's kind of hard to read. Okay, revert. What if we replaced it with stringbuilder.append? That's actually, wait a second. Let's put this into a variable and see if that makes it easier to read. Sure, call it string, and then change it into stringbuilder.append. Is this easier to read? I don't know. And is taking number of class. Okay, so now let's see if we can try this case statement. Oh, what doesn't it like there? Oh, string builder. Rename this to SB. And now switch on number of classes, case 1. Well, okay, let's see here. Case 0, default. It only breaks case statements. I don't know. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. Okay. So when 1, we want to append. No, wait. When it's not 1, we want to append ES. So here we want to append ES. And now here we want to append ES also in default. And that gets rid of this one. And when number of classes is 0, we want to then append, sb.append dot, and here we want to append sb colon space, and here we also want to append sp colon space. Okay. toString. Let's see if we got it right, or if I got it right. I probably messed it up. Oh, I want to run all the student tests. Can I do that from here? Run the whole thing. Well, it still works right. Hey, unit tests. That's cool. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Let's combine these two. This is kind of silly. Yeah, well, or maybe it's not. Does this make it easier to read if I do this? Well, no, what do you think?
It's a minimum of logic that's required for this.
All right, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I want to turn this into like a method. Append number of classes suffix. I don't know. You know, it's funny here again. I do this every year, and I come up with a different solution every year. It'd probably be amusing to go back and look at the repository from last time to see how I solved this. It's probably equally as ugly. Okay, let's go from here, right? Why not? Let's see how it goes. Because again, I've got like all my code in GitHub. If I have to go back, you know, I can. It's not a big deal. Okay, red green refactored. Let's refactored the code that generates the number of classes. Number of classes taken by a student. Interesting. Okay. Oops. Oh, I spelled suffix wrong. Fix spelling mistake. Okay. Nice. Okay. Oh boy, what's next? It's almost 9 o'clock. Oh, we gotta do this thing. With all the commas and the ands and everything. Okay, well let's What's the first test that we should write?
you have one element, you shouldn't have a comma element.
Okay. When the student takes one class, the list should not have a comma. Oh, wait a second. Well, yeah. Contains, and it's taking. Let's see here. One class, period. Like that. Okay. Now, how to implement that? Oops. So now append class names to string buffer. Well, so I guess I'm going to say this classes for each. No, okay. I'm not quite going to go there yet. It's the first night. I'm not going to introduce lambdas to you. For each string class name in this classes, SB dot append class name. Yeah, it's probably a good compromise. Oops, what doesn't it like? Oh, I forgot the period. Yeah, and then SB dot append period. Okay. Commit that. One class is working. And now 2 classes.
So,
Oh, actually, should we also assert that it does not contain a comma? I think that works. Okay, seems to. Okay, now 2 classes.
I think of just N classes where you have all but the last in a slice. I don't know how down with slices with a regular similar. But then, so you have all but the last, separate by commas,
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
then join it with, and if the first part is not empty, and then the last class.
What's the test? You're like one step ahead of us. So it's like, yep, 2 classes, then the list should add a comma.
Add 2 classes,
and-
it should be 1 class, comma, and 2 classes. These tests are gonna go on there. Are we putting in the Oxford comma or not?
Of course we are putting in the Oxford comma. Why would anyone do anything differently? Yes. But there's no Oxford comma here because there's only 2. Listen, you get an Oxford education at the price of PSU. Right? All you can afford is the comma. Okay. Okay, here it is. There is no and okay. So okay, so then it would be all but the last one. Okay. So what would we do? We would basically get the prefix or something? Yeah. Well, there is classes isn't a list anymore.
Oh, it's a set.
Well,
Try to do it.
okay, so we'll do it this way. I'll do it the ugly way.
We'll duplicate it and then pop one out of the set arbitrarily.
Well, not arbitrarily.
We're not-
Let's take a look. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, let's do this the ugly way. Int I equals 0, while I is less than this dot classes dot size I plus plus. Okay, so then we append class name string class name equals this dot. Oh, but wait, there's no get on set, huh?
You could try iterator.
I could try iterator, but I want to be able to find like, oh, actually that'll work. Okay, nope, you are correct. Okay, so get rid of all this nonsense. Okay, so for iterator, nope, oh boy, I haven't done one of these in years. Iterator of string iter, no wait, how's that work? Equals this dot classes dot iterator, while iter has next, yeah, iterator, that's what I meant, has next, there is no Oh yeah, iter.next. Oh wait, no. Oh man, I haven't used iterator. Literally, it's been like 10 years since I've used an iterator. Okay. What doesn't it like there? Iterator is not updated inside the. Oh.
Iterator.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, it's telling me. Okay, right. Okay, so string class name equals iter.next. Okay, there we go. Whew. Man, back to the George W. Bush administration here. Okay. Okay, so we have this. And so we want to say sb.append class name. And if not, oh wait.
In C++, you can measure distance from the end iterator. I don't know how to do
I don't think you know. Iterator only has like, I've used all the methods already of iterator. So I was going to say if it doesn't have a next. Oh, no. Well, maybe that is right. Okay. I think I want to say this. If iterator doesn't have a next, then I'm at the end, then I'm at and. And then I print out the class name. If I'm not at the end, then it'll be the first one. Okay, we'll try this. Oh, no, what didn't it like? Oh, look at that. Okay, here's the interesting thing about sets. While sets say that the elements in the set are unique, it says nothing about the order. And so even though we put the items into the set, one class and another class, they come out in an undefined order. In this case, they're backwards.
Tree set.
Does tree set
Because it sorts. Yeah, the tree set sorts.
tree sets source, but not on the insertion order, on the natural ordering or a comparator ordering of that? So they don't need that. Is there a linked hash set? Oh, there's a linked hash set. Okay, getting close. Oh, I forgot a space after the colon. Okay. Well, that's easy to fix. If I can find the damn thing. There it is. Okay, yeah. Okay, space. Hey, it passes. Now let's go back and see if I broke anything. Oh, look, I broke something. Okay. Oh, yeah, so if it's 1, so if it's empty. Okay, or rather, if it only has 1.
So you put an extra Boolean conditional in there. So you use Boolean and to make sure that the size of the set is not equal to 1. Because you're not saying and if there's only one class in the set.
Yep. So let's see here. No, okay, yeah, we could. So sorry, what's your suggestion here?
So at the end of the parentheses, I would put an m.
Yeah.
Class number of classes is greater than 1.
That worked. Okay, let's see if it. Yeah, actually, all of them passed. Okay. Are we appending the commas? We have no idea because we haven't written a test for that yet.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Grand finale here. Because, yeah, I'm going past time. As commas and ands. one class, another class, and yet another class. And it should contain the comma. We'll run this. It fails.
Yeah, because it writes to the top of the
So
Okay. Well, perhaps we need to tune in next time because people are leaving. I know I said it's up at 9, and I can't help myself. It's 9:10, but I think we should go because I'm getting tired, and I don't think I can. All I can think of is ugly solutions to this. So maybe I'll think about it a little over the weekend. You can do the same. Question?
So what is the is it just loading everything to your set?
Basically, yes. I go into details about the iterator in the collections lecture, which actually is something you'll need to watch for next week anyway. So yeah, we can talk more about it next week. But yeah, there's this whole API around dealing with collections of objects. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for sticking with me here until the bitter end. This is what advanced Java programming is going to be like. You're going to be seeing me doing a lot of coding. You're going to be doing a lot of coding yourself. We're going to be using Java. We're going to be using Maven. Hope it's a good time for everybody. Please fill out the survey programs. I'll add you to Slack, and I will see you all next time. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yep.